What is up, CSGs? In this video, I'm going to talk about Rockets versus Hornets and what I'm seeing from Jalen Green that I think hopefully is a trend going forward. Tap in right now. Enjoy. The Rockets Chop Shop is your one-stop shop for all your basketball needs, for highlights, analysis, podcasts. We do it all here at the Rockets Chop Shop. Make sure you hit the like button on the videos that you watch if you enjoy them. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications from all the great drops that we have on the channel. Also, you can visit the Chop Shop merch store and get you some of the swaggiest gear in the Houston Rockets kingdom. And if you want, you can always support the channel directly through donations. And if you want, you can support us through our partnerships with our sponsors. The Rockets Chop Shop is made by fans, for fans, and we're going to keep rocking and keep dropping that heat.
This is something I know.
So I wanted to just quickly recap the Rockets versus Charlotte game because, it was a good game. We got the dub and we were able to fix a lot of the issues, which mainly be just started hitting shots, right? The guys started hitting shots in the second half of that game. First half was nasty, right? We were putting up a biblical scripture numbers, 316, 3 for 16 on threes, right? You're putting up John 3:16, 3:17, 3:19. You basically putting up salvation numbers there. That's a little Christian joke, but the Rockets got the dub. Definitely was able to shoot better in the second half of the game. No real adjustments. We have, as I said before, this roster is kind of poorly built. And when you get these random shooting events that we literally got to see in real time versus the Hornets, you're going to get random results. There's nothing that I saw from this game that is scalable because, the Hornets suck, right? They don't have a center. Their team they're bad on defense. They really don't have a system. And yeah, it's just it's not a team that you really glean a lot from. But we thought the same thing about the Blazers and we lost that game, which was crazy to me. That was probably one of the worst losses in the season. But to get this dub was much, much needed for the Rockets. All our starters played below 30 minutes, which is something that we need going into a back-to-back tomorrow night. So this is something that's good for us to be able to rest some of the guys, especially Fred VanVleet, who's been playing hella minutes lately. One player that really had a big performance, and this is a good game for him to do against a bad team, was Jalen Green. I know there's been a lot of discourse about Jalen. One of the Twitter accounts posted a stat thread on Jalen Green that basically eviscerated him. It was nasty. It had me shook to my core. You really drill down, and I look at these numbers, but the way he aligned the numbers on Jalen, like to have just kind of laid out the negative impact he's been on the team this season. But, not all is lost. My position on Jalen remains unchanged, right? I don't care about the ups and the downs, all that. Yeah, that's cool. I've been there before with Jalen. He's going to have good games, bad games. That doesn't move me because at this point, we're at the level as a team where we're moving towards being a contender, hopefully. And this is when you start wanting to manage some of your player assets properly and not just go off of emotion or potential. Potential, y'all know I say this all the time. Potential is just potential. Like when it's time to pay that bill, you got to be able to show something. And the closer the Rockets get to Jalen's and Şengün's contract, that stuff about potential go out the window. When you got to pay dudes bread, when you got to put money in front of dudes, potential goes out the windows. What are you doing now? And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about from Jalen, what I've seen in these past few games. Obviously, the Blazers game, he started off pretty good. A lot of these games lately, he's starting off pretty good. And it's not typical for him, the way he's getting his buckets right now. It's not typical for where he normally gets his buckets. And I'll go through some of that right now. So what I'm seeing from Jalen recently is just his ability to play to his strengths, right? This is something that you guys have heard me say on this channel over and over and over again. At baseline, the way Jalen played against the Charlotte Hornets, this is what I expected from him from day one this season, which is attack mismatches, right? The easy mismatch, not nothing like attack them in isolation or attack them doing anything spectacular. It's just that if you have a big in front of you or a player that's slower than you in front of you or a bad defender, use your speed, get to the corner, get to the basket. I made a video this summer saying what a third-year leap would look like from Jalen. And one of the things I pointed out was him increasing his drives to the basket. And this has been a disappointing year for me as far as when it relates to that. And, I was digging through some stats, just looking at how Jalen's been performing in the restricted area, which is, in the paint, in the circle, basically on layups, dunks, and attacks on the basket when he gets to the basket, however he gets to the basket. And if you break it out, over the months of the season, you can kind of tell the stories of how his year or how his game is at that point in the year this year, just by how he is attacking the basket, right? So overall this season, just for the entire season, shooting 59.6% at the rim or in the restricted area on 4.2 attempts, right? And league average for a shooting guard is in the 60s. You see guys like Devin Booker is a 75% restricted area, but he's elite. That's like the top level. So 75% is crazy good. So Jaylen at 59%, that's a 15% point difference. That's a lot. That's a lot when it comes to any shooting stat, right? But Devin is a polished vet. He is the apex of the position. Then you get to guys like Tyrese Maxey, who's at 62.5%, which is closer where Jaylen kind of in that range that he is. Anthony Edwards is at 70% with his. De'Aaron Fox at 64%. Zach LaVine at 60% right there with Jaylen. Cade is at 59.6%, identical with Jalen Green. So it's a mixed bag. I think that what you have to account for, a lot of these other guys, their attempts in the restricted area are up in the 6s and 7s, some of them 8s. So Jaylen only getting to the restricted area 4.2 times a game this season is criminal, right? It's criminal because one, that's a low percentage. That's a low occurrence of him getting there. 2, you guys know my rule, like get to the basket, draw free throws, bend the defense. If you are settling for shooting threes, and he has been horrible on shooting threes, that's not going to get it. But in this recent stretch of games, he's been really showing kind of the blueprint to what I think, if you squint hard enough, you can see the path to Jaylen being an above average player at his position in the NBA. And I'm not going to use the term star anymore. I don't think Jaylen can be a star in the NBA, not because of his physical abilities. I think he can be a great 2 guard. I don't think he can be a star because I don't see the mental makeup of a star. And that's not saying he's not tough or anything like that. I just don't see the level of savantry that I want to see from a scorer on him right now. Like, it's all over the place. So point in case, October of this season, in a restricted area, his field goal percentage is 59% in October, which is around his average for the season. He was driving to the rim 7.3 times, right? He was getting to the rim, or in the restricted area, not driving, but just getting to those layups, whatever it was, 7.3 times. That is pretty good. 59% is not super great, but you love those number of attempts. 7.3 in the month of October. In the mid range, which is another aspect of his game that I'm seeing, he's attacking the mid range, playing that kind of where he comes off the screen, gets straight into his mid range shot, attacking drop bigs. Now, I want him doing that on a 3-point line. That's what I wanted in the summer because I thought he'd be a better 3-point shooter. But he's been like in the teens in the last 10 games. He's like shooting 19% from 3, right? So we stared away from that. I made a tweet saying that basically this summer, if I'm the Rockets, I'm changing Jalen's game up, right? He's been miscast as a player that is supposed to be like this Steph, James Harden hybrid. Jaylen is a guy that needs to be coming off screens and just getting straight into the shot without having to think about it, right? Give him 2 options, whether you're going to drive or you're going to shoot. Or the third option will be to pass, but none of the dribbling and try to probe the defense because, 1, I don't think he has the skills right now to initiate that. And 2, I don't think that he has the full court awareness to be able to maximize him beating players. You'll see him like break a guy on the dribble, get the angle to the basket, and then pull the ball back and go shoot a contested 3. Like stuff like that, you could say it's young guy stuff, but there's a lot of young players in the NBA that know how to read the game in real time. And I think that my view philosophically, I think reading the game, having high basketball IQ is innate. I don't think it's something you can learn. Yeah, you can refine your shot selection. You can refine how to make reads and all that. But as far as being a star, to me as a star scorer, you got to be able to read all the cues and know how to do it. Like I knew James Harden was a savant when he was in OKC. We all knew. That's why Morey went and chased him and gave him the bag. Like, these things from these guys because they show you stuff early. I know Amen Thompson sees the game differently than a Cam Whitmore. Like I know Amen is thinking the game just by the way he manipulates the defense with his body positioning and his passing. So there's to me, it's innate. Like you can't You can't teach that. I don't think he has that. Like, that's just me personally. I don't think he has that. The other aspect of being a star that you can get away if you're not like this big savant is having a physical dominance. I don't think he has that either. So neither of those are there, but I think he has some physical skills, some athletic ability that he can leverage into being an above average NBA player, which for the Rockets, when you have all this talent, that's actually, if he becomes an above average NBA player, that's a good thing for us. But you look at, like I said, October, 59% in the restricted area on his field goal on 7.3 attempts. In the mid range, he was shooting 27%, which is nasty, 3.7 attempts on those. So November, which I think was his best month of this season so far, was the month of November, 63.6% in the restricted area. So that's good, right? He's shooting 63.6% in the restricted area on only 3.4 attempts. Shooting in the mid-range, 37%. So improved on both percentages. The attempts in the restricted area went down. Mid-range went down as well. Wasn't shooting. I think the threes might have been up a little bit, but overall, I think this was his best month all around. And the 63.6 in the restricted area was pretty good. That's about average for his position. December, the worst month maybe of his career, right? Dude was shooting 52% at the rim. That's Fred VanVleet level, right? 3.6 attempts, 27% from mid-range on 2.4 attempts. And then this month so far, he's shooting 62.7. So back in that December mode with 4.8 attempts. So the attempts are a little bit uptick in the attempts. Here's the big difference for him right now. 57% from the mid-range on 2 attempts. To me, the mid-range thing is something that has been there his whole career, right? And he is still struggling in some aspects of maximizing it. 2 attempts from the mid-range, it just depends where the mid-range is from. If he's shooting bad, contested jumpers after he's already initiated the action, got off the screen, they've blitzed him or whatever, and he still tries to take a shot, those are bad. When you're coming off the screen to a lot of teams play drop coverage, like we've seen the Blazers doing, or all these teams that we play, and he's shooting that shot fresh off the screen, those are the shots you want. Those are the good shots that we want from Jalen Green. And the most exciting thing that you see right now in the last 5 games, 75% at the rim. And I think that really leads into what we saw tonight in Charlotte. Him getting to the basket. Obviously, Charlotte didn't have a center, and a lot of these stats are personnel-based. But 75% at the rim for Jalen Green is excellent, right? That's Devin Booker level in the last 5 games on 6.6 attempts. And you've noticed he's really dedicated himself to attacking the basket and staying aggressive. They talked to Coach Udoka after the game, and he basically relayed the same thing, saying that Jaylen just needs to stay aggressive. This is a theme I've been saying the whole season. Stay aggressive, attack. And in the mid-range, still on 2 attempts in the last 5 games, 60% from those. So you've seen him better. It's trash from the 3. The 3 is still bad. The concern about Jaylen is that he could do all this for a 10-game sample and then revert back to what he was in December, or he'll start taking like 15 threes. And that's where my concern is that at this point in his career, he doesn't really have anything he can say he can hang his hat on. And that is concerning for me as a basketball player, because when you think about what you want to see in basketball players, you want to see them have a go-to, a foundational base you can build something off of. A lot of players have that one thing that their whole game hinges on, and from outwards it goes out. For some guys like Şengün, it'll be his ability to be able to dominate in the post. That opens up a whole world, right? Then you have the passing. You have the ability to be able to, hit different shots, finish with both hands. And then the post turns the face-up game because they have to respect that he can still turn around and get to, it just opens up the whole world. You see guys like James Harden, right? He's able to get to decelerate, accelerate, get to the basket, his step back 3, opens up everything in between. Even just different players. Tyrese Maxey, his ability to use his speed to get to the basket, finish at the rim. It also shoots a 3, opens up everything in between. Anthony Edwards' ability to drive to the basket with strength. So for Jaylen, what is the thing that he does that he can hang his hat on? We don't know. Right? You look at the numbers, they go everywhere. He does good in one thing, abandons it, go to something else. And these are part of the things that he's going to grow and learn. But I think that he has a finite time to be able to do this, right? So he needs to be able to learn this in a short amount of time because his contract extension talks are coming up. And that's really not the unfair part, but that's kind of the deal of the NBA. At this point, 3rd year, going into your 4th year, you're not going to be afforded the unlimited runway of development, right? And even though the Rockets may be just fine with letting him figure his stuff out over the next 3 or 4 years, for Jaylen, it's going to come at a cost. That's going to come at the expense of him not making as much money as he could. And, for the team, that's a good thing. But none of this stuff is going to be like, oh, he's just a young guy. Oh, it's year 6, year 5, whatever. Let's let him keep learning. All of this is going to have a cost to it, and he's going to have to pay it. So for him, this summer is really important. This might be like, I'm not even say might be. This is going to be the most important summer of Jalen Green's life. Like, he really has to lock in on his game. Like, he has to lock in on his game to be able to get to that next level. Now, it might be a good thing if he's not the greatest player right now for the Rockets, get him for a cheap contract, keep him, and then he turns into the player he's going to. Or they might just trade him, because Cam Whitmore is also balling out of control right now. So, overall, for me, I just want to see the kid do better, right? Keep working at what he does. One thing I'll say about him, he's very resilient. Despite all the struggles he has, the dude never really sulks about it, doesn't really give you that bad vibe, no negative energy. So that's something you appreciate from what he brings to the game. So keep attacking, keep driving, keep coming off those screens, work from the inside out, right? Less 3-pointers. All his 3-pointers at this point, or a majority of them, should be catch and shoot threes generated from the offense. Then if he wants to cook, quote unquote, let him cook using dribble handoffs and screens inside the arc. That's just my opinion. If you're going to use a screen from the 3-point line, use it with the intention of driving towards the big man, forcing him to backpedal, stopping, popping, on balance, hitting those mid-range shots, and just kind of let your game get that way. And if you get a team like Charlotte that doesn't have a rim deter, or they're trying to switch all 5, come off screaming off that screen, hit that corner, get to the basket, and finish with strength and with authority at the basket. That's the game that I'm asking Jaylen to play. If he does that, if he can find that, I think ideally, theoretically, based on his athletic ability, his skills, that's what he's supposed to be doing. Get your speed, let your speed get you to the basket, let your speed scare that big man so he's backpedaling so you can get to that mid-range shot, and then work on your threes over the years, work on your catch and shoot, and get to league average as a shooter. And then, we might be cooking with something there. You might have a actually above average player that you can put around a lot of good players and be part of a good contending team. So that's my assessment of the game. The Rockets have Brooklyn on second night of a back-to-back, which is going to be a big game for us because obviously Brooklyn is free falling right now. And yeah, we'd love to add to that misery, right? Let's try to get them as low as possible in the lottery, so that pick is either used for a high-level player that can help the team right now, or it can be used for, a good trade piece for us to try to improve this roster. But, the starters got to rest. They should win this game. The Rockets are better than the Nets, right? We should win this game. We have to win out as many games. We got to take one of these Laker or Pelicans games. We can't lose both of those two because you gave up the ability to lose 2 of those games when you lost to Portland, right? Which was just a gut-wrenching loss. So, that is all for today. Y'all check in with me. I'm gonna do a video. I gotta do one of my catch-up videos of how the team has been performing. I was doing them every 10 games and I got kind of busy. So I need to do a 45 game checkup on, all the starting 5s. What are their on-offs looking like? All that stuff. So I'll probably be doing that maybe after this Brooklyn game. We'll see what everything looks like. But if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. Keep rocking with the Chop Shop. We're going to keep dropping that.